All right, what's going on, YouTube? So we've got another truck camper question here. We're going to fire this one off. And this question goes like this. I have been checking out your videos on YouTube. Looks like you've done a lot of research on the Northern Light campers. I'm 6'4" tall and 280 pounds, so I need something with good headroom, and I want a bathroom I can fit in and shower in. I just watched your video on the 10'2" bathroom and saw that you can stand up with no issues in the Northern. In your research, could someone my size fit in the 10'2" EXRR dry bath shower? Also, is there enough room to replace the standard toilet in these campers with one of the nice porcelain units that has an elongated bowl? All right, so another tall person interested in a truck camper. Awesome. When it comes to, as I've mentioned in past videos, I did do a lot of research on truck camper inside interior heights, and through my research, I found the Northern Light unit 10'2". This is important, 2012 and newer, to be one of the tallest interior ceiling heights in the industry. And the other manufacturer, the other one that I found that builds tall inside ceiling heights is Lance. And when it comes to Lance is kind of an interesting one. If you go back and do lots of research over the years, like say over the past 10 years, their models tend to change from year to year. So you really have to go in, and if you are in the market for a used camper, you've really got to go in and do a lot of research. And which is very easy. To do because Lance has done an excellent job with keeping. You can go on and do a Google search into Lance and pull up any truck camper brochure from, I think, maybe even back to 1999, and you can get all of the specifications and all of the details on every single one of their units, including the interior height. So talking about other truck campers that I've noticed that have tall ceiling heights as far as model goes, there's one that I really like that Lance builds. It's an 1191, and to my knowledge, just about every one of those production year units had an interior ceiling height of 80 inches or 81 inches, but not really less than 80 inches. So with you being 6'4" tall, I would definitely look at I would not look at any campers less than 67 inches in an interior ceiling height, because you got to take into factor that air conditioner, and that air conditioner is going to reduce the interior ceiling height. Not only it's going to reduce it, so you've got to, if I was you, I would try to make sure that you could walk underneath it comfortably. Another thing that I'll say that I'll give the Lance another one. The Lance, the 1191, the placement of the air conditioner inside the truck camper. Okay, this is really important. So I noticed in the Lance 1191, they actually put it in the center, right above the sleeper, right before you get into the sleeper. And when you go into the sleeper, you generally have to crouch your head to go, to get in and out of the sleeper. So I found that to be an excellent location to place the air conditioner. On my Northern Light, it's right in the center, which makes a lot of sense from an engineering standpoint of weights and everything. And that's the thing. These manufacturers, they when they design these campers, there's a lot that goes into designing weight distribution. There's a lot of engineering that goes into these. Distributing the weight and where the tanks are and all this. So anyways, going back to the height thing. So yes, placement of air conditioners, making sure you can walk underneath the air conditioners, and so I think that pretty much covers it. As far as other truck camper manufacturers with tall interior ceiling heights, there's not many. They are starting. The trend seems to be that they are starting to make them taller. Living Light, that's another one. They have a few models that are 80 inches. So and I find it that 6'8" is a good height to be within. I think the tallest that I've seen is in a production truck camper is like 80, 82 inches, I think is kind of the tallest that I've seen. Now, some of these pop-up truck campers, they go really high. They go 81, 82 inches tall inside, standing up. So the pop-ups there's a few pop-up manufacturers, like I think North Star. They build a couple that are really tall inside, standing up. So I think that hopefully that answers the question. I know it's probably, I mean, you're only 6'4". You're not as tall as me, where I really need, I need you need the 80 inches, but I would suggest, nothing. I wouldn't look at anything less than 67 inches inside. So going on to the next question, the bathroom, the dry bath in the 10'2". Well, great question. I did have the opportunity when Gordon paid me a visit here. I got to tour his dry bath, 10'2", and I wasn't able to stand up inside, but it was a really large dry bath. And someone 6'4", you may be able to stand up inside of it. The only answer I can give you is you got to go and find one and test it out for yourself. And and that's a really, really, really important thing to do with any truck camper, is never take somebody else's word for it. Go out there and field test it yourself, test it out, get inside, feel it, you know, um, make sure that it's going to work for you. Very, very, very important. Spend as much time as you need figuring out, which particular layout is going to work best for you. So the answer to that question, I don't know. I don't know if you'll be able to comfortably stand up inside of it. Is there enough room to replace the standard toilet in these campers? I don't know. I've never looked into replacing mine. I know that there is quite a bit of room on mine to do that. You probably could. I've never looked into replacing the toilet, and I don't think I will. I have no desire to go with a composting toilet. I think in theory, the composting toilets they're great in theory, but in reality, you still have to deal with your shit. So, and if you're like me, I want to pull a valve and I want to be done with it. I don't want to have to mess with it. I don't want to be taking my shit in and out of the camper and waste and whatever else. So that's my little rant on the composting toilets. Also, when you were searching, did you find many good deals on used Northern Light campers? Well, that's another great question. Did I find many in my area? Yes, there's typically a lot of them. Now, newer ones, not so much. And this is where I found it gets real tricky. Okay, so if you want one of the tall interior ceiling height Northern Light 10'2" campers, because they're the only one that makes them tall inside. Bigfoot doesn't. The tallest campers that Bigfoot makes, they're 6'4", which that's not going to work for you. So yeah, on the West Coast, you're going to see a lot more supply. But as far as the newer ones, trying to find a 2012 and newer, man, good luck. They are hard. I know this one that I bought, I got really lucky. And it's interesting because this camper was on Craig. I bought it off Craigslist. I bought it off of a private party, and he had it on Craigslist for, I think, about 2 months, and it never sold. You know, and part of that probably was his price. I didn't pay his price when I eventually ended up buying it. I bought it for a lot less than he was asking, but to find the newer ones, they will be hard. They will be harder from my own experience doing my own research, shopping for them, finding that a 2012 and newer one. And there's a couple of reasons for that. Northern Light, the manufacturer, in 2013 there was a fire, and there was like a year where they were kind of out of production. It may not have been a year, but there was a while that they were out of production. That had something to do with it, something to do with, I think, some of the supply. But yeah, the newer ones, they do come up now and then. I remember back back in 2013, was it 2013? No, it was 2014. I remember when I was doing some shopping, and I went out, and they had I believe it was a 2013 or 2012 up in Washington at a dealer. I couldn't believe it. I was floored because I was looking around because I wanted to test them out, and I wanted to see the different layouts. And this one was a dry bath that came up, which was even more surprising because dry baths they typically go really quick. Well, they had this dry bath sitting up there. The previous owners, they traded it in, I think, on a motorhome. They wanted more room. It was a brand new camper, and when I got up there and looked at it, I was not really impressed with it. I wasn't impressed with, well, for number one, the dry bath. I could not stand up in the shower, and the layout, the dry bath layout and the wet bath layout in the 10.2s, they're completely different. One of the things that I noticed is sitting down in the dinette in the dry bath unit, I didn't have nearly as much headroom as I have, like between here and here. It was a lot smaller in the dry bath layout. So, and then also this dinette table in the camper I have is huge. It's a lot. It's a lot larger than the dry bath. So, just some other things. The wet bath was definitely the layout for me. That I found out. So that was a good trip up there to take a look at that camper and check it out before I made my buying decision. So yeah, that's what I can say the on the Northern Light. Good deals on used Northern Light campers. So it's going to just depend. I mean, going back to that ceiling height thing, like I said, if you want 2012 or newer, it's probably going to be I have not seen a whole lot of them for sale, and that would be like doing a nationwide search. And let's see. Well, I think let me kind of back up a little bit here. The closest Northern Light dealer looks to be at least a state away from me, so I'm trying to find out as much about them as I can from others that have them. I've already decided on the style of construction, molded fiberglass for durability. I just need to determine what brand model fits me best. From what I've read, the Bigfoot doesn't have a tall ceiling, so I have ruled out that brand for now. Yes, that's correct. Bigfoot, the tall ceiling they have is 6'4", and they've never made any changes to that. And let's see, from just an initial search, I see some of the Southwest for sale, albeit at a much higher price than a standard stick-built unit. Of course, the quality appears to be much better on the Northern, so this is to be expected. My next step is to find a heavy-duty truck to haul whatever I buy with. I love the Dodge Ram 3500 with the Cummins and manual transmission. Much cheaper to fix a manual tranny than an automatic transmission if something happens. So yes, the manual transmission is awesome. I like manual transmissions. They're great. They definitely. You could argue that they're more reliable. I mean, people will argue all day about everything. Automatic's more reliable than manual, and on and on. It just depends on what you want. But yeah, manual transmissions are awesome. You really can't go wrong with one. And you got to put a clutch in it every, I don't know, 100,000 miles, or depending on how good you take care of it. So yeah, good luck to you with your search, and I hope that this answers some of your questions. Thanks for your question. Please comment below if you guys have some other thoughts you'd like to add to this discussion. Take care, and we'll see you next time.